So I have kind of 4 pillars that I tell my patients. Number 3 is do the things which bring you joy. Because when we fill our own well, we can so much easier withstand the trials and tribulations. So when great Aunt Lucy has that very insensitive comment, then you're like, oh, but I filled my bucket today. I can actually withstand this better.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show. I am so excited to have my dear friend, Erica Bove, on today's show. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, Amy.
I should call you Coach Erica, and
Yeah,
I can't
Dr.
wait.
Amy.
No, Amy, and I can't wait to dive into everything that you're doing to educate about love and science and fertility. So, Dr. Erica Bove is a double board certified OB-GYN and reproductive endocrinologist, as well as a certified life coach through the Life Coach School. She's a practicing fertility specialist at the University of Vermont. She is also the founder of Love and Science, Thriving Through Infertility. She's an expert in the field of sex and intimacy, as well as embodiment and mindful self-compassion. And she's been to some great schools: college at Notre Dame, med school at University of Vermont, residency at New York Presbyterian Hospital at Columbia University, and where we both did our fellowship, University of Michigan. Go Blue.
Dr. Amy, you are a legend. When I came, it's like on many levels, I'm so happy to meet you right now, but I'm like, you were a celebrity when I was there, Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I feel so lucky to have trained at such a great place. So I just wanted to dive deep first into what drove you to start this coaching practice. Tell us about it.
I love people. I love science. That's why I went into medicine. And as I got, more and more years into practice and also had some, personal struggles along the way, a divorce and some other personal struggles, I was like, how do I create the life that I've always wanted to have? I started to really educate myself and look at people who I thought were thriving. And most of those people had a coach. During the summer of 2018, I was offered free coaching by a Boston neonatologist. And I was like, pick me, please, because that was a particularly hard time. And we worked together for 5 months. And I will say, I just started seeing life from a different lens. I started to realize I had choices. I realized that I could tap into empathy to help my relationships with my family members and my friends and my people. And I was like, these are some really amazing tools. Then I decided to dive into relationship coaching, which is super interesting and amazing. And I started to really, heal a lot of past wounds and hurts. And once I did that, I was like, hey, I think I actually want to be a coach. And so as I did coaching school and I was learning about the concepts of coaching, which are really that our thoughts create our feelings create our actions, and then our actions dictate how we show up in the world. And actually, the interesting thing, Dr. Amy, is that the circumstance is neutral, right? So, like, we start with something that we just don't expect to change. And then we can figure out our thoughts and our feelings around those things. I thought to myself, I do this all day, every day in my fertility practice, right? Like, I help people deal with bad news. I help people with losses. I help people figure out what their next steps are, in all sorts of circumstances. And so I really think I could marry the two. And so that's where we are right now. Fast forward to 2023 at this moment in time. And I decided to found Love and Science. And that's actually what I say when I do my embryo transfers. I'm like, Love and Science, because we want all the vectors moving in one direction to help people achieve their highest potential, right? And so this is how I live my life. This is how I do my fertility practice. And I thought, I think that people undergoing fertility treatments, especially professional women, need additional support. So my goal in founding this is to help serve our people where I have a lot of time and energy and compassion to help people navigate the process and actually thrive while they're doing it.
Wow, I love that. I mean, when I do an embryo transfer, I say carefully, gently. Just to, but now I'm going to say with love and science. Hashtag Coach Erica.
Yeah.
So I love that. And so tell us, who are you hoping will reach out to you for help?
My ideal coaching person is going to be a high achieving professional woman who also finds herself with infertility, who would like some additional support along the way.
What kind of engagement do they have with you?
So we do weekly one-on-one coaching. I have a number of programs. The most popular is a 6-month program. And the wonderful thing is, so we do one-on-one coaching once a week. And, My clients have access to me. We text, they tell me their wins, they tell me their struggles. And then, for those who want it, I offer a group call in terms of additional group support because I'm a huge believer in support groups. I think that when people can share their experiences, it reduces the isolation, it reduces a lot of the stigma. And when people can come together as a group, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right?
Yeah. And I don't think doctors should be afraid of referring their patients to you because I think everyone needs a coach. And who better to be a coach that understands the science and is also coming from a loving place? So I think that's what you're doing is incredible. And I would love to get your perspective on so many things. I mean, one thing is there's so many holidays that come up. And I feel like right now it's everyone's doing their like Christmas pictures, at the parks, and everyone's just putting all their family photos on Facebook. And that's so hard as a fertility patient to see that because I can only imagine what it's like to want something so badly and not have it and just be reminded every time you go on social media or go to family get-togethers and be asked all the time about when you're going to start trying. So how do you tell your clients what to do in those kinds of situations and your patients?
So timely and such a great question. And I know we're upon like the December holiday season. So I have kind of four pillars that I tell my patients. The first is to stay off social media because social media, most of it is a big lie. People are posting the top 5% that they want people to know about. And sometimes that isn't even true. They're not posting the 95% of the humdrum and the disappointments and all those things. And so what you see and what you're comparing your life against is not even reality. If you do want to engage to be in the lives of the people that you really care about, really contain it. Say, I'm going to do this for no more than 20 minutes a day or whatever it is, because we have data that people who go on social media have actually more anxiety and depression after they engage. And you'd think it'd be the other way, but it's not. So number one, stay off social media. Two is be prepared. We all know great grandma is going to say, like, when's that baby coming? Like, people just don't even understand. In general, I like to think people are coming from a well meaning place, but it still hurts to even bring it up. I encourage you to use your personality to your advantage here in terms of, if you're a client or a patient listening, I think some people use humor and some people kind of give a neutral answer. Oh, thanks so much for asking. We're working on it. And so, what I would say is just know what you're going to say in advance because when you come in prepared, it's not going to catch you off guard and you'll be able to then move on through the interaction and move on forward. And you might even say, you know what? It's taking a little longer than we'd like. Can we please change the subject or something more direct like that? So, that's number two is be prepared. Number three is do the things which bring you joy. Because when we fill our own well, we can so much easier withstand the trials and tribulations. So when like great Aunt Lucy has that very insensitive comment, then you're like, oh, but I filled my bucket today. I can actually withstand this better. And then the fourth thing to realize is that people will be who they are. So have like your very small, intimate circle of people where you can just be like, oh my God, can she just say this? And then just vent in a safe space. Find your style, the answer that feels authentic to you, because I think when we're authentic, we do our best. But everybody doesn't have to know all the things. And so just know what you're going to say ahead of time.
I want to get to keeping intimacy alive. So I'd love to hear from your perspective as an expert in this. What do you recommend to your clients?
One of the hard parts about the holidays is that we're all stretched in so many directions. And so I think, the first thing is being really intentional about how we want to spend our time. And maybe if that like fourth group of people ask for cookies, like they can come from Whole Foods or something like that. You know what I mean? The second thing I actually learned in coaching school is that our relationships actually start in our minds. So like just think about this. You have a relationship with your sister, but you actually more accurately have a relationship with your thoughts about your sister. So if your thoughts about your sister are like, I have the most amazing sister in the world, we have so much fun together, I can't wait to go Christmas shopping with her, we're going to get excited about spending time with her and then it's going to be fun. But if we're like, oh my gosh, I hope my sister doesn't like make that stupid comment. Why is she always so judgmental and compare? We're not even going to go into that experience looking forward to it because we just anticipate it's going to suck. So I think a lot is true about relationships as well. So if we think to ourselves, for those of us who are lucky enough to have, a wonderful partner, like we think to ourselves, oh, he or she is so handsome or beautiful. I really want to see his face. Oh my gosh, he smells so good. I have a male partner, so I'm, using him as example. But like if I think those loving, exciting thoughts about him in advance before I see him, when I see him, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's you. Like I'm so happy to be here. So That's my suggestion during the holiday season is if you happen to have a partner and you feel it's gotten kind of humdrum, just think about how you want to think about that person and try on those thoughts and just see if that spices things up. And like think about one thing physically that you like about that person, whether it's like their butt or their hair or their scent, and just like ruminate on that for a little bit and see if that might increase the spark. And I'm a huge fan of date nights, but I'm also not a huge fan of checking things off the list. So I think that like carving out time to be playful, to be fun, to be intimate, maybe doing something that's like out of the normal, like going to a concert, or maybe trying a new restaurant. What I would say is, look forward to the time because we know that then the experience of the time is all that much better. And so I think it's really connecting with our own desire first that then makes our relationships more juicy. Like move your thoughts in one direction and then the feelings come from those thoughts. Especially like let's make this very like clinical. Say I'm going through infertility treatments and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, my doctor just prescribed timed intercourse. What the heck is that? I don't want to have sex on a clock." But like thinking like, "Could we spice this up a little bit? Maybe try something we've never tried before." Like get creative because if something is an obligation, we hate it. We resent it. But if something is part of my plan for today, I'm going to make it a little bit like different and exciting. Just trying that on and seeing what jives, I think that gets us out of our ruts and helps us enjoy life a lot more.
Yeah, my husband the other day, he says, "I'm gonna kidnap you." And I was like, "Ooh, this sounds exciting." And he was taking me to the notary to get something notarized. And I was
Absolutely
like,
funny.
"That's really mean." Like, for 1 second, I thought we were gonna do something fun, and kidnapping sounded interesting.
You're like, "Can you still kidnap me?"
It's like, "No, can you kidnap me after the notary? Like, take me
Such a great
somewhere?"
example, Dr. Amy, because like for that split second, your thoughts were like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be like fun and exciting."
Exactly.
Right? And like, so it's just a great example of the power of our thoughts to create our reality.
And so with your patients and clients who are going through treatment and, you're talking to high-powered women with really important jobs, that are responsible for so many people's lives, and now they have to do something to take time out of their busy schedules taking other people. How do you help them navigate life as a professional doctor and then as a fertility patient at the same time?
The framework I like to use is the mindful self compassion because I think as high powered women, we are not taught how to give ourselves grace at all. Right. It's kind of like this inner critic. And so, what I do with my coaching is I help to turn that inner critic into an inner coach, like a loving inner voice that is like, it is okay. We are human beings. Even like when it comes to like being ill and having to take like a day off because of a cold or COVID or whatever happens, we are all human beings. And sometimes I think we forget that. So, just reminding ourselves, giving ourselves that mindful self compassion that we are a human having a human experience, I think that is so powerful because if this was an appendicitis, everything would come to an extreme halt. So maybe it's like readjusting the goals during certain periods of time to take care of ourselves. Infertility is a disease. We have medical treatments for a medical thing. I just like to twist my mind to think like, okay, if this was appendicitis, what would I do? Because sometimes that helps me help my patients, think about it a little bit differently. So I think giving ourselves grace is the first thing. And I think connecting with other people going through something similar is really powerful. A lot of us high powered women tend to be very private people. But I think the more that we can let down our guard a little bit in a safe space, that can really open the way to powerful connections and a lot of additional support we didn't even know was there.
And then talk to me about authentic hope. What does that mean? Because I talk about hope as having only positive and practical expectations because I always want to have that hopeful mindset, but not unrealistic at the same time. So what does authentic hope mean?
I love your acronyms. They're so useful and beautiful. And that's when you said like the practical, you said, what is the P, the practical and
And positive. I think being positive almost seems shameful nowadays in our society, and people use the term toxic positivity as if something about being positive, there's something wrong with that. And
right?
nothing wrong with being positive.
When I see a patient, so say like in the office, I see a patient, I think, what gives me evidence that fertility treatments are likely to be successful for this person? Maybe they have a younger age, or maybe they've carried a pregnancy before, or maybe they've even just been pregnant. There's a lot of different evidence based reasons that this is likely to be successful. Maybe not the first time, maybe not even the second time, but over time, we're likely to help this person achieve their goal of parenthood. Toxic positivity, I think, it's not acknowledging the reality of things. It's just being like, I'm going to be positive at all costs. I'm just going to lie to myself. That's kind of what that means to me.
Like the 50-year-old that's like, "Amy, you don't know what you're talking about. If I believe it, I can achieve it." I'm like, "No, you're just lying to yourself.
That's right. Finding a way to be very honest with ourselves. And I think another way of framing this is cautious optimism. You know, it's like that kind of balance between self protection, but then hoping that there is a possibility that this could work. And I firmly believe that energetically, this lines up our vectors for success. You know, if I have a patient who tells me right before the embryo transfer, Dr. Bove, this is not going to work. And I've had patients tell me that. I look at them and I'm like, I hold their hands, I look into their eyes, and I say, I need you to believe that it's possible.
Right.
Because if we believe it's possible, then energetically we open up the channels for it to be a possibility. And so it's a combination of, looking at the evidence, looking at people's history, looking at their support system, looking at their openness to various ways of becoming a parent, even. And those are the things I look at when I think about authentic hope. But then I call them out when I see it because I think to speak it aloud is very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
A lot of this, I think we're very aligned in how we practice, like love and science. That's from everything I've listened to. And like I said, I've been a fan of yours since I was a fellow, right? So you just didn't know it yet on YouTube and everything. So, like, but that's how you practice. You think outside the box, you tailor your care to your patients, you love your patients, you use your science background. It's like that holistic combination of things. And that's when we have the best patient outcomes, right? So this is like what you do day in and day out. I'm just speaking it aloud.
Yeah. And you believe in your patients just like I do. You see them as fertile when they don't believe it themselves.
That's right.
And I have patients that say, I never thought I could do this until I met you, and you gave me that hope. And then I started believing in myself. And
I'm
then
tearing up right now. I really am because but it's true. Like we do believe in our people, and then when it happens, it's a miracle. But it's because we've opened up the channels. And so thank you so much for saying that.
of course. So just tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes. Come and find me at loveandsciencefertility.com. Loveandsciencefertility.com. And I have a Facebook page and Instagram and all of that, but come to the website, book a call with me, see if we'd be a good fit working together. I really believe I can help high powered women who are undergoing fertility, who really want to reach their goal, but they're feeling isolated, demoralized, kind of out of gas. And if you're a doctor listening to this podcast and you think you might have some patients for me, just email me at loveandsciencefertility@gmail.com.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you so much.